All right. On that note, let's go ahead and settle in and get things started. How's everybody doing tonight? Welcome to the Winning on YouTube ongoing live stream series. I hope to be able to do actually a lot of these streams going forward. I'm tentatively planning to do hopefully about 3 of them a week. Don't know exactly what days they're going to be yet. A lot of that's going to be dependent upon my family's schedule, the things I have going on with my kids, the things that I have going on in business, but also the other things, the other responsibilities I have on the YouTube side of the house. So again, welcome everybody. Do hope we'll be able to kick these off. Quick administrative note, those of you who are on our mailing list over at alloy7.tv, you should have received an email tonight notifying you that this was going to be going on. I will be trying to send out notifications through our mailing list. So if keeping up with things that are going on the channel, especially like our live events that we do, is important to you, then I definitely suggest that you go over to alloy7.tv and subscribe to our mailing list so that I can keep you up to date. Going forward, I know I talked about this a little bit last year when I announced that I was going to be quasi-quitting, if you will, the kind of formal scripted knowledge session videos where I have the 3 tips or the what YouTube Red is going to do to affect us, or certain different types of teaching shows that I was doing. That didn't include monetization videos. I'm going to continue to do those updates every year because I think that's important. But one of the things I kind of slyly snuck in there was that I was going to be moving toward, or at least in some of the commentary that I have with you guys, I was going to be moving toward something that's a bit more speed, something that's more in line with my destiny, which is actually what we're going to talk about tonight with this what should I be creating or what should I be making as it relates to YouTube and focus. What I said in some of the commentary was that I was going to be working towards my real destiny or the things that I'm really good at, and doing live interactive coaching type situations is just what I'm better at. Doing live performances, even as a musician, I was way better at that than I was at trying to record, whether I was playing percussion, singing, or rapping in the studio. It just didn't feel natural. So being able to interact with all of you is something that's important to me, and I want to definitely sustain that in these series here. A couple things to consider with these live series. Bring whatever your questions are, no matter what the topic of discussion is. The real purpose is for us to have some interaction, for me to be able to impart something to you that's important to you, not just what I have deemed is the flavor of the day. Bring whatever questions that you have. To the degree that I can, I will always keep the live streams on the YouTube channel. Like, I don't have any plans to take them down. A lot of people were saying, hey, thanks for leaving this up. And I was just kind of like, are people taking their live streams down? But I do plan to keep them up, but also be on the lookout. I will be breaking the videos up into individual shows that will release as if they were pre-recorded for people that don't watch the live streams, who can't make it to the live streams, or for a lot of you that can't necessarily stay here and listen to me drone on for 2 to 3 hours at a time. I'm going to have those things come up as well. So if there's a question that you ask, if you got to come here, get your question answered real quick, and then you have to leave, but you do want to know what's coming after the fact, you can always go back and watch the streams or watch the individual episodes. So let's take a look at the comments here before I get into a lot of the things we want to discuss tonight. A lot of good stuff. My good friend Kazrico Redclaw says, greetings. Hello, my friend. He's actually one of our team members over at Alloy 7. Very, very awesome dude. Noise Shark Media says, howdy. What's up, my friend? The Baconator's got the thumbs up. I'm thinking about making a YouTube series, Old Man Yells at Cloud. Or get off my lawn is mine. You can't have it. Not that old, but I feel sometimes like talking. That's how I feel like talking to people on YouTube. All right, so Ranger J's here, and we've got the Baconator. So we got quite a few people in the mix here. One of the other things, there was something else I wanted to point out, which was very important, and now my old brain has just that quickly forgotten it. Reminder that we'll be relaunching the Minecraft live stream series tomorrow night starting 10 p.m. Hopefully it'll start at 10 p.m. My kids did not want to go to sleep tonight, which is why we're starting so late. And you were watching me drink my after-workout protein shake very late at night. But we're going to focus on this for tonight. Like I said, you can definitely bring whatever questions you have to any of the discussions. But some of the stuff that I deal with on a regular basis when I'm helping people in their channels, or just in passing, like everything I do is not necessarily centered around coaching or helping folks. Some people just have general questions that they need to get access to information on. But one of the things that I encounter regularly outside of kind of the base level monetization questions, where people, and the interesting thing about monetization questions is people just don't want to read the policy. They just want you to tell them what the answer is to what they're doing. That's just kind of the way they want to do it. Like, I'm not going to bother reading about fair use. You come watch my video and tell me if this is fair use, which I always think is kind of funny. But one of the other things I run into a lot is folks who aren't focused. Like, they don't really know. They know that they want to be on YouTube. They know that they want to have a channel, that they're passionate in some way, shape, or form about video games, but they don't necessarily know how to translate that passion into, actually creating videos, and not just creating videos, but creating videos that people want to see, and creating videos with a little bit of strategy in mind, which is what we're going to go into tonight, to at least to as much as we can get into tonight. Not really knowing how to strategically position content such that it's not just something that I'm passionate about making. It's not just something that I think people want to see, but also figuring out how to position it properly so that the people who do want to see it can't see it. So you've heard me talk briefly about concepts like search engine optimization. If you saw the first video I did about the YouTube Gamers Academy, I said the #1 principle of search engine optimization is being compelling and making compelling content. And that's definitely paramount if you're going to want people to come be a part of what you're doing. It's absolutely necessary that you do that. The tips and the tricks and targeting keywords, writing proper titles, getting your tags right, getting your thumbnail right, getting your description right. Those are all very valuable things. They're all very powerful things. But at the end of the day, if you're very good at getting people to come and look at something that they don't like, then chances are, SEO is going to work for you to a degree, but it's not going to help you actually reach whatever your goals are if you're not really squaring away this idea of making great content. So let's jump into the comments once again, see if anybody's asked any questions so far. We've got Omar says, hey guys, what's up, Omar? Cosrico says, that's kids for you. Mine are still sitting here in my room playing with Legos. I hear that. Legos will forever thrive. Okay, great. So got a couple of different things that I want to get into tonight, specifically centering around this, what should I be making, what should I be creating. I actually would like to start with, if you all will indulge me, a book that I had the people in our YouTube Gamers Academy read. It's a very powerful book, a very good book, written by two marketing experts. And there's just one quote that I want to read from. I'm not going to read a whole chapter to you here on a live stream. It's like me pulling out a phone book and reading that like a Broadway play. But there's one quote in here specifically that really had a profound impact on me, not just as a creator, but having me relook at all of the things that I'm doing in business right now, all of the things that I'm doing, and even in outreach and ministry type stuff that I do, looking at how do I really position myself to be as effective as possible. So you guys have heard me say on YouTube that my vision is to bring positivity and foster a stronger gaming community. Well, that's a small part of my life vision, which is to help people find their destiny and to actually equip them with the tools to achieve their destiny. That's why a lot of what I do on the coaching videos on YouTube is about helping you find what you should be doing and then giving you the tools that help you do it. But it really made me stop and think, am I really focused in the right areas? Because a person with my personality type can have the tendency to want to be all over the place because we get this delusion that we're good at everything. We're good at a lot of things. And so we want to kind of dip here and dip there because we're very prone to getting bored easily. But it's just not true. I am not good at a ton of things. There's things that I am good at, but there's things that I'm not. And this quote right here, and so the name of the book is titled Positioning: The Battle for Your Mind. I'll have links to it. I probably should have done this before the stream when I set this up. I'll have links where you can go get this book so that you make sure you get the right one, because this book originally was written, I think, in the 1980s, and this updated version. So before the stream ends tonight, I'll actually dump a link into the comments or into the description of the video so that if you want to go get it and read it, you can. But this book has been updated because specifically a lot of their predictions that they made, or not a lot of them, but some of them were incorrect. They made some judgments based on what they knew about marketing. They ended up being wrong. But let's jump into the quote. So I'm going to read the quote as it is, and then I'm going to change it to make it applicable for YouTube. So it says, to succeed in our over-communicated society, a company must create a position in the prospect's mind. A position that takes into consideration not only the company's own strengths, or in this case, your own strengths and weaknesses, but those of its competitors as well. Okay? So that's one of the quotes that I wanted to bring to you tonight. There's actually two that I want to share with you, but think on that for a second. To succeed in our over-communicated society, the company must create a position in the prospect's mind. A position that takes into consideration not only the company's own strengths and weaknesses, but those of its competitors as well. And there's one other quote specifically about this whole idea of the over-communicated society that really, really drives the point home. And it speaks to a lot of you that I've worked with. And when I say you, I mean a lot of people. I don't mean specifically the people on the stream, because we may not have had this discussion. But what I find with a lot of people is that when they're just getting started, they're fishing for what they really want to do, and they want to make a lot of different things. And I start telling them, even early on, start whittling down your ideas and start beginning to focus on a theme. And they're like, I don't really want to focus. I kind of want to be all over the place because I'm interested in a lot of things. But the problem with trying to get broad targets like that is you're not going to have the authority to be able to attract the people who are wanting to come see the 19 different things that you're doing, you're not going to be able to target all 19 audiences. Okay, and I know that from experience because when I started this YouTube channel here, I specifically experimented with a lot of that myself just to see, how did YouTube react to a lot of these things that we know about marketing. But it's really about, you've really got to hone in and create a position. You've heard the term that people use in Hollywood when they say an actor is typecasted, and that's usually used negatively. But think about it. If you were typecast as a role in Hollywood that every movie needed, and you were the go-to guy for that role, then being typecast would actually work in your favor. I mean, as an artist, you may get frustrated thinking about, well, I can do more. You find a lot of comedic artists. They're like, well, I can do drama and I can do these other things too. But the world associates comedy with you. So when you try to do, like, there are people that I've watched, like Will Smith, for example, is a person that I really like as an actor. He was a person that I emulated for a long time as an entertainer. And it was just, not necessarily as a rapper, my rap style was quite a bit different than his, but just his overabundance of personality and presence. And, but there's certain things that he does as an actor that he doesn't fit. Like, it's rumored, I don't know if anybody's ever confirmed this, but I've heard it's rumored, like, he was one of the people they were going to pick to be Neo in The Matrix. That would have been a train wreck, because Neo needs to be this subdued, stoic character. And Will Smith is neither one of those things. He's a jovial, quasi, not in a negative connotation, but he's a quasi, like, clown, like, hey, guys, type dude. That wasn't going to be taken seriously. You know what I mean? So I find that people who want to focus in 20 different places, it doesn't really work out for them, because eventually what's going to happen in the YouTube space, especially as you start to grow, people are going to start to associate certain types of content with you. And there's one thing about psychology that, if you don't learn really anything else about it, is that once, in another book that I've had the Academy read, once people associate a persona with you, it is very hard to get them to change their mind about it. So when you do something that doesn't fit their mold, the reaction can be somewhat negative. Not necessarily like they're going to hate you, but that it's not congruent. So when I see Will Smith trying to do roles like 7 Pounds, for example, it doesn't fit for me. Like, watching him try to be this stoic, dramatic person, not that he's bad at it, but it's just, I have associated for so many years this thing with him, and now he's trying to be something else. And maybe it's that, part of that is versatility. There are people in the world who can do 20 different things extremely well, like, Leonardo da Vinci, people like that, but they come around so rare in, human history, where you find people that are just savants at everything. You know what I'm saying? So anyway, let's get to the main quote here, which is, in the communication jungle out there, the only hope to score big is to be selective, to concentrate on narrow targets, to practice segmentation. In a word, positioning. So I like to rephrase it, and we actually go over this very specific quote in the YouTube Gamers Academy. And the way I like to reframe it is, in the YouTube jungle out there, the only hope you have to score big is to be selective, to concentrate on narrow targets, narrow people, and to practice segmentation. In a word, to focus. And that's really one of the other great things about this book, is there's a ton of these case studies where they show you they give you a crash course in the history of marketing. And this is really cool, something to think about on YouTube too. They give you this very, very brief crash course on how marketing evolved from the 1950s up into today. And it went through these areas of it went through the product era, and then it went through the specs era, where people basically, you see in the console wars where they talk about this machine has this type of RAM and this type of processor. That's very 1960s marketing tactics. And that's why it's usually not effective, because at the end of the day, nobody buys a PlayStation 4 because of the type of RAM that's in it. So the journalists will continue to perpetuate that type of crap, because it gets the type of fans who respond to that to get involved and to read posts and to comment and to be angry and to start arguing. So journalists have very smartly figured out, if we just keep talking about this 1960s style of marketing, fans will continue to argue about it on our website, which is going to make Google realize that there's activity here and make our website rank better in search. It's an SEO trick, basically. You'll find a lot of the types of content that are on YouTube. Not that everything doesn't use SEO, but there's certain things that are just blatantly done because they're known to attract a lot of attention, like top 10 lists all day long, console wars type things of that nature. But the point that I'm making is, in their crash course, they walk you from the 1950s up to modern day. And the thing that's so interesting about that is that YouTube went through the exact same metamorphosis. It just did it in the course of 10 years. So you started back in 2005. You had what would be very similar to the product era in business, where basically, I talked about this in the stream last night, where if you could get on TV, you could pretty much do anything that obviously wasn't like brazenly offensive. And people would be like, oh, this person must be important because they're on TV. We should probably buy our umbrellas from him. And that was that. You fast forward into the 1960s, now there's a couple more companies in the world, and what they're starting to say is, well, our umbrellas are better than this guy's umbrellas because, it does this thing, or it has this spec, it has this technology that makes what we're doing better. And that was that era, right? So when you're looking at YouTube in 2005, if you were here and you were making regular content, that was obviously decent content. I made some content back in 2007 that was horrible, and I'm not famous because of it, because it wasn't good, and it wasn't consistent. I put up a video maybe once every 7 months. So you have this situation where people who were here and were consistent, as we got past the phase of early adopter viewers. I'd argue that we're still in the early adopter phase of creators, if not before the early adopter phase. But for viewers, if you were here long enough, you would build up that rapport. YouTube's search algorithm was just archaic back then. It just basically counted views. So if you could be slick about how you got people to view your stuff, you could rank very well in YouTube search, get lots of subscribers, and continue to build your brand. It was very easy to build your brand back then by just being consistent, having a thumbnail with a half-naked woman in it, and you were gold. And if you did that regularly and often enough, up until YouTube changed its algorithm to be better at promoting content, then you were good. Very much like the 1950s, if you could get on TV and do your thing. And so you move into the 1960s, where everyone's arguing over specs and whose umbrella or whose car is better than somebody else's car. But when you get into the 70s and then definitely into the 80s, it changes again. And we go into what's called the positioning era, which is what the book is about, teaching you how to position. And that's where we live now on YouTube. We're already, and so what the world took about 20 to 30 years to figure out, YouTube did in about 5 to 6 years. Maybe you could argue even as high as 7 or 8 years. But within 8 years, YouTube had already gone through all of those phases, where if you were here, you were awesome. And then basically it was creators fighting over who makes better content. Now it's not even about who makes better content, because there's over 1 million creators. And the last time I saw Google put information out, there's at least 1 million creators who are just making revenue. So partners. But there's a lot of other creators who aren't partners, who aren't making money, that YouTube may not be tracking in that number. But there's 1 million people that you're arguably competing with. Obviously, as the gaming niche, you're not competing necessarily with a beauty channel, because the types of people who are going to watch that probably aren't going to watch your Let's Plays, by and large, or your reviews or your commentary videos, whatever it is that you create. So we're in this positioning era. And part of the problem is a lot of creators are still behaving like it's the specs era. All right, and I'm calling that era wrong because I don't remember the name of it from when I've read this book 3 times. But that era, or maybe the 60s was the product era, and I'm forgetting what the 50s era was. But the bottom line is, we have creators arguing over who makes better content, thinking, well, people say that about me a lot. Well, you make really great content. How come you don't have certain things? Well, the simple fact of the matter is, we don't live in the product era. We don't live at a time where and I could make some arguments that my content may not be as great as it's getting lauded for. A lot of my content, in terms of greatness, it's great for a very specific type of audience. And that's what you have to realize, is that in positioning, it doesn't necessarily matter, and don't get me wrong, don't disregard everything I've said about making great content and being compelling, because it is important. But the nuance here, the slight thing that you have to add to that recipe, is that it has to be compelling to the audience you've chosen to reach. Because it's no longer about who makes the best Let's Plays. There's no such thing as that. PewDiePie makes the best Let's Plays. Period. The world has already voted. The votes are in. He makes the best Let's Plays. I don't care how objectively you could break down and tell me that I'm wrong. The world believes that PewDiePie makes the best Let's Plays, which is why he has 40 million subscribers. You're not going to convince the world that you make better Let's Plays than PewDiePie. So trying to behave like it's the 1960s and almost arrogantly saying, well, I make great content, so people should subscribe to me, that doesn't exist anymore. It's not a thing. So we're in the era of positioning, and in order to position properly, as the book says, you have to focus on narrow targets, which is really what we're talking about here. When you're talking about what should I be making, now I'm not necessarily talking about the vehicle for the videos that you're going to make, like whether you choose Let's Plays or you choose reviews or you choose commentary videos. I'm not necessarily saying you have to do one or the other of your different types of products, but your products being Let's Plays, reviews, commentary videos, live streams. You can do multiple products. You know, there are companies that make multiple products, but those companies focus on a very specific, narrow target. GameStop, for example, doesn't sell groceries, at least the last time I checked. They're kind of guilty of this too, where they've started, because they realize that their business model is very quickly becoming irrelevant. Not quickly, it won't be quick, but parts of it are becoming irrelevant and unable to compete with the likes of Amazon and, you know, just digital game buying in general. So they started selling cell phones and tablets and trading. At one point they were selling DVDs. They stopped doing that. But, you know, the people that wrote this book have another book where they talk about the laws of marketing. And that's actually breaking one of the laws, like trying to sell other things that aren't a part of your core business and your core target. And that's what a lot of creators are doing. They're saying, well, I'm going to make a ton of different types of content because that's going to bring me the most viewers. And it's not true. The creators who are the best at focusing, you'll notice in modern times, are really the ones who are winning, and the ones who are best at focusing on what a large amount of people want to see. So going back to the comments about who makes better content and who doesn't, the thing you have to understand about a channel like mine, because the bulk of what I do is this stuff here, there's only 1 million people on YouTube who could even possibly care about what we're talking about tonight. 1 million people. 40 million subscribers, PewDiePie. Only 1 million people who could potentially even care about what we're talking about tonight. You can assume that at least half of those people don't need what we're talking about here tonight because they've already reached whatever their definition of success is, and they're sustaining that. In fact, I would argue that it's less than 10% of that 1 million actually need what we're talking about. And when you siphon it down even further to the fact that I focus on gamers, that's an infinitesimally even more small, I'm not using proper English, science degree, it's a much smaller niche of people. So my ability to reach an audience that's 40 million people, it's 40 million people, it's not a realistic dream for a person who basically got typecast as the person who does these types of coaching videos. Okay, you're doing well. Like one of the best channels that does this type of work, and I mean they do industry level, not like YouTube tips. These people teach you things about how to market on the internet, and they're sitting on maybe 24,000 subscribers because the amount of people who are looking for that, I won't say that it's never going to happen, but they're not on YouTube yet. YouTube still, by and large, just kind of like television, is still predominantly focused on entertainment. So if you're not in that vein, you know, like me, then you have to set your expectations quite a bit lower. You know, the fact that I focus on, like if I focused on YouTubers, I could definitely reach a slightly bigger audience because there's 1 million people who potentially could use this information. And then half of them probably don't need it, so that gets us down to 500,000. And then I could arguably get maybe 15% of that pie if I were good enough. But I don't know enough about, like, for the reason why I focus on gamers is because I don't know the first thing about teaching a beauty channel how to do better beauty videos. So I stay in my lane. I don't try to do things that I'm not skilled at doing. So anyway, you guys get the point. Let's take a look at the comments. Let's make sure I'm not missing anything you guys are saying here, any questions that you may have tonight. Ranger J says everyone is free to ask any questions. B will periodically catch up on comments. Yo, the game machine. Oh my God, Sausage says, I'm one to try and balance too many projects at once. Never works out. That is correct. Pixel Pusher, what's up, dude? Says he streams these pretty late, huh? Yeah, I got kids, yo. I can't stream at 7 o'clock at night. My children running around screaming at me. You crazy? You got to get some tea here. People seem to like making and watching everything wrong with series. Okay. Let's see. Well, it's good he didn't, because now I can catch while I... Yes, he can wait for his video to render and watch. Excellent. I'm glad you're here. Airden Games. The information he gives has great value. Definitely worth looking at and listening to. Evan says, PewDiePie is starting to make a little less Let's Plays. Of course he is, because here's the thing about Pewdie. All right, and this is just my take. The persona that we all know him as, and this is just from me watching, because people like him I study because I coach other people who are gamers, and I want to be able to pick up on some of the things that he's doing successfully that I can help other creators emulate. I like to think of myself as a decent reader of people. And when I watch him make content, especially when he makes content that's not Let's Plays, he's got this almost forlorn look on his face, like, I don't want to be doing this in 10 years. I don't want to be making videos where I'm screaming at the screen because I'm a grown man. And not that there's anything wrong with it, but I get the impression that that persona that he's acting is not something he wants to sustain forever. So he's done vlogs, like he did the vlog where he went on the world tour to spread his book. I actually enjoyed watching those quite a bit. I don't really enjoy his gaming videos very much just because I can't. I'm too old to listen to people screaming. I can't take it. I can barely take my own children screaming in the house, which is why I film these videos so late. But I get this impression from him, one, that he's a very intelligent person, and I believe he is. And there's a part of him that wants to branch out and do other things, but he's got to be very careful not to mess with that tender balance he's got with his channel. So he's got to be very, like I said, careful with the way he manages his content. So, you know, is he starting to make less Let's Plays? Yes, because I think he wants, and I think he realizes that, you know, to sustain himself on YouTube, gaming may not be the thing that carries him forever, because eventually his 40 million subscribers are going to start to grow up, and they're going to start to look, you know, I used to watch cartoons just like my kids watch now. I don't watch, those cartoons are terrible as an adult, and I think he's smart enough to realize that I can continue bringing in the bulk of the young people, but I also have to give the people who are here something that's going to evolve with them. So he's very smart, but he's also very focused. You know, he can do millions of different types of Let's Plays because the word Let's Play is associated. When we're talking about positioning, he positioned the word Let's Play in the minds of his viewers. No other person is ever going to reach the height that he's reached doing what he's doing. It's just marketing law. Now, there are exceptions to the rule in marketing and in business where a company does something so egregious or they go out of business and someone takes their place. But unless he dramatically changes something or offends a lot of people, which the things he does, if he hasn't offended somebody yet, I don't know if he's going to. So it's one of those things where I think he's starting, like I said, to evolve because his audience is starting to evolve with him. Let's see here. Or he's trying to evolve his content as his audience gets older. But like I said, I can't watch the cartoons that I used to watch as a kid, and I think he gets that. All right, let's see. Anise says, what is happening? What's up, my friend? Topic right now is content quality and focus. Yes. Pewds is to the point where he can make a video doing anything. He could jump into a can of beans. Yeah, he could, but I don't know if he could sustain that long term. You know what I mean? Smart people stick with what's working, and I think for a time people would put up with him doing something else because they love him so much, but over time, if he continues to try to push Like if Will Smith kept trying to do movies where he's trying to be this really dramatic guy, one of two things is going to happen. Audiences are just going to give up like me and be like, I can't take any of his serious roles seriously. Or he becomes so good at it that they can't help it and they follow him. So that's kind of the dilemma I imagine PewDiePie finds himself in, is in, 10 to 20 years, he doesn't want to be making videos where he's screaming at the screen. So he's got to evolve himself. And in business, when you control a market, then we can talk about making different types of content. Then we can talk about the other projects that you want to do. When you own a market, sure. Then you and I can have the conversation about, I want to branch out and do something different. But the problem is most people try to branch out and do something different from the beginning. Like, I'm going to do 20 different types of content, not just products, not just Let's Plays, reviews, and commentaries or whatever it is that you do on your channel. But in that, I'm going to do RPGs and shooters, and I'm going to do Call of Duty zombies, and I'm going to do commentary about, I watched one of the other channels I used to follow for a couple years. Now they're getting into political commentary. Marketing does not, the laws of marketing do not support that type of move. And some people are able to pull it off, but, like in the book that I just read from, Coca-Cola is one of their case studies. When they launched New Coke, and some of you are probably way too young to even know what the heck that is, because it came out probably before you were born. It came out when I was a kid, and when that came out, Coca-Cola took an L. First of all, it didn't do well, and it was taking profit from what they did really well, which was making Coca-Cola classic, period. And there's a marketing term for that, which I won't go into here because it's not really what this is about. But when people start trying to branch out now again, when you own your market and your audience loves you as much as they love a person like PewDiePie, then yeah, get into political commentary if that's what's on your heart. But, you have to be careful with it. All right, let's see what I'm missing here. Game Machine says, the stream time works for me because I get off at 10. Awesome. Airden Games says, some people use a webcam during Let's Plays and some don't, and just put commentary on it. Okay, did I miss your question? Or was that just a comment? Sugarfoot, what's up, my friend? How you doing? All right. Airden says, do you prefer using a webcam during Let's Plays or not? Okay, so remember, guys, I'm actually going to write this on the board tonight because it's something that I repeat on a regular basis. All right, so we're gonna take a break from focusing right now just to make this point. Here we go. Ready? Okay. So, there are no black and white answers. And you guys are going to hear me say that all the time. And now, I know Airden didn't necessarily ask a black and white question, but his question is implying something that I deal with a lot of times with a lot of creators. So I kind of want to help you out by getting you to think just a little bit differently, maybe. And if I'm misunderstanding you, then feel free to correct me if I'm wrong. But this will be helpful to somebody. So when someone asks me, do you prefer using a webcam or do you not prefer using a webcam? What I interpret that question to mean is, which one is the right way to go? Because I'm looking for an answer that's going to help me build my brand, build my channel, and build a rapport with my audience. Which course of action? I'm at this fork in the road, and I can either do webcam or I can do no webcam. I've got to make a decision, and I don't really know which one I want to go with because I don't know which one works better. I don't know which one is going to work better for me. I don't know which one is going to work better for my audience, and I want somebody else who has more experience to advise me. And I may arguably in this case not even have more experience than you, but I want someone who is experienced and knowledgeable about the things that we're doing to kind of give me, a push in what they consider to be the right direction, or just to talk about it because maybe you're an extrovert like me and you learn by talking. So a lot of times when you have a dilemma, talking with people helps you think it out. So here's what I'm going to encourage you to do. Do both. Do videos with a webcam. Do videos without a webcam and let the mathematics tell you the story. And what the mathematics are your analytics. Do your webcam videos do better than your videos without the webcam in terms of views, in terms of not necessarily total watch time, because, you know, if you have a video that's 45 minutes, you know, all your webcam videos are 45 minutes and all your non-webcam videos are a minute long, naturally these videos are going to have more watch time. So look at total views, look at audience retention. Is the webcam helping your audience stick around? And really think, even before I get into that, I think what works better for you. What do you prefer? Like, I can go either way with a webcam when I'm playing a video game, because I think the webcam definitely brings a human element to what's going on. Like, it allows the audience to put a face with what's happening. But you can't please all the people all the time. For every person that's going to be happy to see my ugly mug on the camera, there's going to be the other 50%, or you can probably break it into a bunch of 25s. 25% of the people are going to love the fact that I did a webcam. 25% of the people are going to hate the fact that I have a webcam. 25% of people aren't going to care either way. And then the other 25% of people could, you know, they'd be indecisive. They'd be here one day, you know, on this side another day. So you're not going to please all the people all the time. So you first have to decide what's going to be most pleasing for you. Do you want to shoot with a webcam? And if you're going to shoot with a webcam, here is one kind of piece of advice that I will tell you to consider. Are you a compelling enough person to be on camera? Like, does you being on camera help you make a connection with your audience? For my, like, really, really, and this isn't black and white. Again, there are no black and white answers. But for my extremely introverted people who are also not social, because you can be social and be introverted. But if you're introverted and like social interaction gives you anxiety, then being on camera is probably going to be hard for you. Okay, so those are things you want to consider. But ultimately, at the end of the day, I do the math. Like, if I'm just trying to advise myself on which one's the better call, then do both. Run an experiment where you do 20 videos with, 20 videos without, of, you know, similar types of content, so you're comparing apples to apples, and then which ones do better. You know, and honestly, get the feedback from your viewers too. What do the bulk of your viewers who have something to say about it say? Are they like, get this dude out of here, he's stupid, or he's awesome, please, we want to see more of your webcam? All right, hopefully that answers the question. What else do we have here today? Looks like I missed a lot on that one. Okay. And he says, what's happening? Okay, I caught that one already. Pews it to the point, Roger. Some people use a webcam. Okay, so Sugar says PewDiePie is one of those. He's one of those obnoxious screaming LPers. Good grief. Not always. He has some content that's actually kind of funny and endearing. But, you know, that's what the kids like, man. What up, Sugarfoot? Let's see. Aaron Games says, oh, my stupid scroll thing is scrolling here when I'm not trying to make it scroll. So, and, you know, to answer your question more directly, Aaron, I don't like doing Let's Plays, so the webcam doesn't really do me any good either way. Like, I prefer live streams, and you could argue that a live stream is very much like a Let's Play. But the difference is it gives me an opportunity to actually interact with an audience, and I do better. Like, every show that I do will do better when you all interact with me. It's just the way it is. You will always get a better show out of me when I get more questions and more comments than you will if everybody's just silent, because I thrive. Like, when I was a musician, I used to thrive on good audiences, and other musicians and comedians know what I mean by that. When you get into a crowd where the energy is right, nothing can stop you. I did a show one time, funny story. I did a show one time where there were three of us who were we had the leader of the band, and then we had me and another guy he was kind of the lead singer, I was the lead rapper, but we both could do either or, so we would back each other up. Like, if he was singing, I would sing harmony with him, and, you know, he could do some raps where I would ad-lib for him, and then the leader would direct everything that was happening. It's a very unique style of music. It's not really, there's nothing else out there like local DC music. But one show, the lead singer couldn't be there. And so the leader of the band came up. He's like, "Hey, man, you think you can carry, our boy's stuff?" And I was like, I could try. Check this out. I butchered, because I don't sing anything like him. I prefer more, my singing style is just different. Like, I have different tonality in my voice. I prefer more aggressive styles of music when I'm performing. So his is a lot more laid back, a lot more R&B, and that's not really my style, or gospel and R&B, which is gospel, certainly not my style. They use a lot of interesting types of, melodies and that type of music, which I'm not wired for. Anyway, we get on stage and I'm doing his parts. I butchered every single one of his notes. I don't think I hit a note, like, to the point where the band was looking at me while I was singing, like, just keep playing and act like nothing's wrong, because this dude is just terrible. Like, never let him sing again. Because I was trying to sing, I was out of my element. The parts that I sing, that I wrote, it works just fine. But I'm trying to sing somebody else's material that I'm not good enough to sing. And so, but at the end of the show, nobody knew it. It was just like, "Hey, man, love the show. You guys were awesome." And I'm like, "What show did you..." Like, the band was awesome, and maybe the band just was so awesome that they covered my terribleness. I'm actually surprised that band put up with me as long as they did. Yeah. But the point is, if you are able to be compelling in that way, then you can overcome, some of your shortcomings. But, what did I miss here? There are no black Sugarfoot. Sugarfoot says, "It's a shame, B. That original Two Worlds LP was too dope." So yeah, like I was saying, it's just like, Let's Plays aren't really my jam. I always do better. The point is, like, the energy of the crowd was so great at the show that I was able to overcome my suckiness with charisma, and they just assumed that I was singing well when I was not. I was singing very terribly. But my charisma and the energy of the crowd was so good that nobody noticed, was the point. That was my lost train of thought that I was trying to come back to. So Sugarfoot, it says that Two Worlds LP is too dope. The bear is just going to portion. Yeah, I mean, there are parts of Let's Plays where I shine, but my problem, let's get into some of the material here. My problem with Let's Plays, what makes me not good at them, is that, I have to shine for a lot longer than I want to shine on a particular topic. Like, it's not black and white. Like, I guess I wouldn't have to do that. If I really put some thought into it, I could probably end up liking Let's Plays, find kind of like an angle where they make sense to me and I enjoy them. But, one of the things that let me know that Let's Plays aren't my deal is I don't enjoy watching them. So I was like, if I don't enjoy watching it, I'm certainly not going to enjoy making it. But you have to know what works for you. And there are Let's Plays. One of the reasons why the Two Worlds Let's Play does have some good parts is I beat that game. Like, I understand why a lot of Let's Players don't Let's Play a game until they beat it twice. Because they are then knowledgeable on the subject material. And they can run circles around the game while they're talking. And a lot of times that was the skill that I never mastered because I never gave myself enough time to do it. Where it's like, you got to get good enough at the game where the game is not distracting you from interacting with the audience. And my problem was I preferred to interact with the audience than I did to play the game. The problem in the Let's Play is there's no audience. There's no active audience that I am feeding off of. Like, you're not leaving comments for questions for me that I can respond to. And that's what I do best. Like, the style of music I used to play was completely freeform. Like, we would show up with an idea for the songs that we were going to play, and based on the energy of the crowd, we could change gears on a dime. And the whole band, like, we had hand signals where the leader of the band could throw up a particular hand signal and everybody knew, okay, we're going to this song next. I mean, that's how well-oiled this band was. And we would just roll on the fly. It was almost like we were freestyling shows. Instead of just showing up and saying, we're going to play these 6 songs in order, we'd show up. We usually knew the first song we were going to play, and even the band leader some nights would be like, I don't even know what I want to do. He's like, we're going to open with this, and then just watch my lead. I'm gonna read the crowd and figure out how I want to do it. He was a mastermind at doing that type of stuff, man. Really talented dude. So we're talking about focus. Last night we talked about the why, the who, and the what. I'm going to change it a little bit tonight. The principle is still going to be kind of the same, but I'm going to change it up just a little bit. So I'm going to have me, them, and then eventually we get to the content that we should be making. Right? You can see my handwriting gets worse when I don't have time to sit here and actually draw it out during a live show. All right, so before I jump into that, let's make sure I'm not missing any comments. Let's see. For me, I'm going to look into focusing on a genre and build valuable content around that. That's a good idea. Yeah, genre, and don't stop there. You know what I mean? And you'll see this in the next YouTube Gamers Academy video that's coming out, Game Machine, because I know you're in the Academy. I'm going to go deep into that, where don't just stop at genre, okay? Go deeper. Like, what within the genre can you do? Because somebody somewhere is probably doing Let's Plays or whatever types of videos you're going to do in that genre. But what can you do that will allow you to position you in the minds of your people? So the reason why I can't get totally away from doing these types of knowledge session videos, it's because a large portion of the YouTube audience associates me with this content. There's a video out there that has like 1 million views, and it's me doing the video. I produced it, and so 1 million people have seen my face doing this. And if they come to my channel, and they come to the channel like, wait a minute, he's doing a Witcher 3 review. What does that have to do? And granted, in the video I explain who I am and what I do, so it's not going to be completely off-putting to them. But chances are the 1 million people that saw that video, when they come to my channel, they're not looking for my Witcher 3. They're not like, hey, this guy said he does reviews and he's helping me fix my channel. Let's go check out his reviews. Remember, we always talk about these folks. I'm not going to let you get away from, matter of fact, the them column. Here they go. You guys know, the guys in the Academy are going to get so sick of seeing this graphic. Right? So those people come to my channel inside their bubble. Like, I've gotten them to come to my channel because I got into their bubble with knowledge that's helping them avoid copyright issues. But when they come to the channel, they're not getting out of their bubble to go look at my other stuff. You know, so that's why I can't. And I don't necessarily want to get away from this. Don't misunderstand me. Like, I'm not trying to get away from knowledge sessions. What I wanted to get away from was doing these weekly tips videos where I'm doing my trend research. Okay, what's the whole world talking about? So I can pick a video that is going to be helpful, but at the same time is going to help my channel because, you know, it's the trendy thing this week. Like, that's why I didn't do a video on the Fine Brothers, because I don't have a whole lot to add to that discussion. And frankly, I don't have a whole lot to add to it that's going to help you build your channel. What they're doing, unless you specifically are making content that they were affecting, me making a video about that. I mean, a lot of people who are asking me to make videos just wanted my opinion. And what you're going to find about me, you know, even though I make kind of opinionated game reviews, I don't have an opinion about a lot of things. Because, you know, honestly, you know, and this is just a personal note for me, I don't care about a lot of things in the world, especially things that can affect my bottom line. You know, and I learned that being in business with, you know, one of my old billionaire bosses. I just learned you cannot care about the things that aren't affecting your core business. You can't jump off here and start worrying about all this other stuff. And people could argue, well, what they did could have implications in the future. Yeah, but look at how it ended up. You know, the world, you know, this is one of the other things I wanted to talk about tonight. The world is not as out to get you as you're being led to believe. Okay, so was what they were doing completely underhanded? I don't know, but I don't think so. I think they wanted to protect their brand. And they were looking at what is the best way we can do that to make sure that we're still relevant in 20 years so our kids can be a part of this. You know what I mean? Most people aren't just sitting in a closet like, how can I maliciously screw everybody that's a part of what I'm doing? That would be idiotic for them to maliciously be planning that. Now, maybe they were, okay? I'm not saying I'm right. But you're going to find I don't have an opinion on a lot of that stuff because it doesn't affect me. First of all, I don't make reacts videos. None of my audience that I'm aware of makes a ton of reacts videos who's going to be directly affected by it. And if I did have someone in my audience that was affected by that, then that's a conversation we can have off video. But what a lot of people, I think, and I could be wrong, wanted was to hear my opinion. What is his stance? I don't have a stance. Because frankly, when I heard it, as indifferent as it may make me sound, a part of me didn't care. I was like, that's how people in business work. Dude, I had a billionaire, my boss, tell me to do certain things in business that made me walk away from the table. Like, you think that's bad? Get out of here with that. You know what I mean? I've seen some stuff go down in business that, wasn't, legally wrong, but it made me question if I wanted to be in business with these people. You think what the Fine brothers are doing is malicious? Please. These people making big money at the top who are fighting with each other over the money at that level? Forget about it. Anyway, I'm rambling here, so let's get this thing back on the rails, shall we? Evan says, I understand the audience thing. I find I have much more fun and entertain better when I have someone to talk to. Also, I find it easier to entertain when I play story-driven games. Yep, because you're not having to focus on not sucking at the game, which is hilarious. Like, people be like, dude, you suck at this game. I'm like, I know. You're not telling me something I don't know on my own show. Still think it would be good to have someone else playing the game more and having you talk with them and with the audience. Now, Kaz, are you talking about me specifically or just in like general Let's Plays? Because I think that's actually pretty good advice. One of the first Let's Plays I ever did was a joint commentary with a friend of mine, and it was one of my first Let's Plays, and it was one of my better ones. It actually won an award on Reddit. And I'd never made Let's Plays before, and I got an award, which I thought was kind of cool. Sugarfoot says, one question. I've come to realize that calm, genuinely funny, witty Let's Players are becoming something of a rarity. Okay. How would a new Let's Player who's trying to get the guys like me, who don't particularly care for guys who put out a weird accent or screen all the time, how would that new guy capture the attention of... I'm not sure what you're asking me there, brother. Can you reword that a little bit? I'm not sure where you're going. You said, how would a new Let's Player who's trying to get the guys like me who don't care for guys who put on a weird accent, or like Tobuscus, is that what you mean? Or scream, I think is what you meant to say, and it auto-corrected you all the time. How would a new guy capture the attention of guys like me? So the principles don't change. You have to focus on narrow targets, just like the book says. So you can't just think in terms of Let's Plays. You can't just think in terms of genres. You got to go deep. The world we live in has 7 billion people. This idea that we're going to be able to go broad and win at anything, it's over. In fact, it never really existed. But having a broad plan for what you're doing in business or YouTube or otherwise, it's not going to work, at least not in the short term. Like, you can have a broad vision. There's people like Richard Branson in the world who, own Virgin Airlines and Virgin Records, and now he's working on a space company. He's got a magazine company. He's doing all these different things, but he didn't start off doing 17 different things. He focused on one, mastered it, just like Elon Musk and PayPal mastered it, sold his shares, moved into his next thing. So you can't, the principle doesn't change no matter what type of content you're making. It's about focus. It's about finding what is the niche that you're going after, which we're gonna get to a little bit more on the board here in a second. The Game Machine says, yeah, I plan to go deeper into it. I was known as one of two things, fighting game guy or retro review guy. Yeah, but that's not specific enough. Retro review guy, there's what's his name? The crazy dude that everyone either loves or hates. Cinemassacre, the angry video game nerd. He owns the retro games name. That's him. That's what he does. So just saying I'm the retro review guy, you're the retro review guy to probably a couple thousand people. But if you're trying to grow a channel, you're not going to be able to do it as just the retro review guy. Like, you're going to have to find a more specific angle than that. All right, what do we got? Kaz says, well, you specifically as well, but I've actually seen PSN stores doing a bit of that with their previews and Let's Plays. Yeah, Scream all the time. Got it, Sugar. Game Machine says, Amazon started selling books now. They do all kinds of things. Exactly, because they mastered books. Not only did Amazon master books, they put bookstores out of business. How many bookstores do you see in your neighborhoods anymore? You know, there's still a couple like in the malls, and there's still one or two big bookstores because people do need to buy physical books, and there's still old people who don't use Amazon. But Amazon crushed books, and then they branched out. They didn't start off broad. Game Machine says, oh, nope, that's that. All right, good. So I think I got through all the comments. If I missed a comment, feel free to just retype it. There's no spam here, guys, unless you're a spammer typing other stuff. Like if you type a question and I don't answer it, and you can see that I've answered 7 other questions and missed yours, just retype it. It's totally cool. All right, so when you're talking about focusing on, you know, what we should be making in the me column here, you know, start with you. One of the things YouTube teaches, I've actually said this in a lot of videos, what makes you happy? Okay? Start there. But the problem that I see with a lot of creators that I've worked with on the starting and growth side, like a lot of the creators that I've worked with, honestly, have been a lot further along. Like they're having monetization issues. But I do work with a lot of creators who are just starting. That's kind of what I've evolved into. When I first got started doing this, I was more, you know, advising big groups of people who were having monetization issues, and then it just kind of snowballed into me helping people in a bunch of different areas as far as gaming creation goes. So, what makes you happy as a creator? And YouTube actually teaches on this in their certification process, or their certification program, rather, where the first answer to your content strategy is you have to make content that makes you happy, and you have to have a schedule that keeps you happy, right? Before we even start talking about your target audience, which arguably is a bigger focus than you still have to start from a place that's something that you enjoy, or at the very least, it's something that you're very curious about. You know what I mean? So you have to ask yourself, what is it that makes you happy as a creator? Because at the end of the day, if you're making stuff that's not, like I could do this type of teaching, not necessarily just focused on gaming, because once I've mastered this, and I've actually already started to branch out into bigger projects, not just on YouTube, but in general. But a lot of that stuff, you guys haven't seen it yet because I'm still mastering what I'm doing here before I want to bring something else into the equation, which is going to take up my time. But these types of videos, I could do this every day if I had time to do it. Sit here and talk to people, help them with the challenges they're having, help them discover what their destiny is, because that's really kind of my calling. And so walking you through challenges you're having to get to a desired end with your goals in mind, that's what makes me tick. That's who I am as a person. So that makes me happy. These types of videos, these types of live streams make me happy. But the other thing you have to ask yourself, and this is going to sound maybe a little bit strange, but it'll make sense. Not just what makes you happy, but what are you good enough at? I think "you" is the word I was trying to write there. So I'm going to just write, what are you good at? What makes you happy and what are you good at? But more specifically, what are you good enough at that someone would actually pay you to do it? Now, obviously, you're not making videos specifically to get paid from your viewers, but your viewers are paying you. They're paying you with their watch time, and they're paying you with their subscribes. That is the YouTube currency from viewer to creator. Or unless you have a donation box and creators are actually donating money to you. So, what makes you happy? That's the first question you need to ask. But secondly, what are you actually good at that someone would actually want to pay you money for? What is that thing? Because at the end of the day, you may not be selling a product when you make a YouTube video, but you're selling yourself. And what about you is good enough? So going back to what the Game Machine was saying, where he's known as the fighting game guy. Are you good enough at fighting games to where you can create a unique type of show that's not just you playing fighting games, but there's something to it, a twist or a niche that you can find within that genre? Are you good enough at the games or good enough at whatever you like? Are you knowledgeable enough at what you're doing in order to draw a large audience? So like one of my buddies that I met at the YouTube Creators Conference that I went to last year is a Call of Duty. I talked about him on the last stream. He's a Call of Duty Zombies player. But when you watch it, like I could not care less about Call of Duty Zombies. Like I care about that about as much as I care about watching paint dry. But he makes compelling videos because this dude not only has great presentation value, not only is he very good at the game, but he has a knowledge of what's going on, that he's actually showing you things on screen. Like he's breaking down the lore. I didn't even know Call of Duty Zombies had lore. I didn't know that was a thing. And he knows it. He could come in this room right here. I could get off camera. He could walk you through the entire thing without notes or anything. And maybe he's so good that he's reading notes and he's making it sound natural. Very charismatic guy. So he's definitely capable of that. But he's so knowledgeable at his specific niche that he's drawn a very decent sized audience to himself. Now it's not millions of people. It's not, he's nowhere near the biggest, or even some of my other friends who run Call of Duty channels, but he's big compared to a lot of people just starting out. He's bigger than our channel here because he's found that niche and he really does it very well. Okay. He's good enough at that to get paid. At least, I think he's got somewhere around 30,000 subscribers. He's good enough to get 30,000 people to commit to his content and to give him their watch time. So he's good enough at that. So you have to ask yourself, what makes you happy and what are you good at? So here's what I want you guys to do. We're going to make this interactive. I hate doing knowledge sessions. I hate teaching courses where it's just me talking all the time. In the comments section, I want you to write one thing as a YouTube creator, because remember, this is about focus. One thing. What is the one thing on YouTube that makes you the happiest? I want you to write that in the comment section. Then, around that theme, what are you good enough at making that someone would actually pay you to do it? Because when you really get down to it, if you don't get this part right, all of your dreams about growing and getting views and subscribers, if it's not good enough, and I don't necessarily mean it's got to be Hollywood caliber production. I mean, look at what we're doing here. This is by far not me presenting a show. I'm not playing at the Verizon Center in DC with my band, like in days past. This is a very rudimentary setup here. So I'm not talking about like just the physical quality of your show, but is the quality of your content in the eyes of your viewers good enough that they would pay you for it? So what is the one thing? What makes you the most happy, or what could have the potential to make you the most happy as a creator on YouTube? What is the thing? If it's a genre, a theme, it's playing RPG games, whatever it is. And then what are you actually good at? Is it commentary? Is it Let's Plays? Is it reviews? Is it live streams? What is it that, live streams of role-playing games, if that's your thing, that you're good enough at it to where people will want to come and watch you every time you do it? So as you're typing that, I'm going to take a look here because I'm going to read some of y'all's comments because I think that's helpful to the group, especially people that may be watching this after the fact who won't have access to the comments, people that will be watching and be able to hear what I'm saying. So let's get in here, make sure I've caught up with everybody's other questions while you guys and ladies are typing that. Yeah, he's talking about some people will change their voice in videos. Yeah, like Toby. Toby does that a lot. All right, let's have another sip of tea. Can always count on Sugarfoot for a funny comment. Just imagine an anaconda holding a hammer, just going crazy on some books. See, Jeopardy theme song. On point, be this YouTube known as Jinx. YouTuber known as Jinx recently quit doing reaction videos, which were his main content. Stop flipping while I'm reading, since he didn't enjoy it anymore. It's true. If you're not, unless it's something that you're having to do to make money, and heaven forbid that you're doing something that you hate to make money. I've done that. It sucks. No one wants to do that. Let's see. Like, there's facets of my business that I do that I would gladly walk away from if they were to bring in better revenue than what not all of my business, because some of the business that I do, especially the outreach I do, I love it, and I would do it for free. Some of it I do for free. But there's other facets of it that if tomorrow someone handed me $100 million, I'd be like, I'm growing in my life too. I have not arrived yet. I don't want to give you guys the impression that I'm, one day we will get there. But I am not driving a Ferrari just yet. If you don't mind me adding about the happiness, that means there will be times you may have to push past the bad. Yeah, sure. I mean, you're doing what makes you happy. Inevitably, though, you're going to have setbacks or challenges or whatever, so sure. Noxious Karn says, what makes me happy? Honestly, truly entertaining people. But take that deeper. What about entertaining people? I'm trying to find a right way to frame the question, because I know that feeling, like being on stage as a musician, getting that reaction from the crowd is powerful. There's a relationship there, so I get it. But what would make you happy? Like, there's certain things that you wouldn't want to do to entertain people. Like, I would never want to be MC Hammer. And I'm not hating on the guy. That's not me. It's not who I am. I would never want, okay, let me use somebody that's not going to sound like I'm hating on someone. I would never want to be Jay-Z. Ever. Ever, 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 ever. And I used to rap. That was part of my toolkit as a musician. But I would never want to make the type of music he's made. You know what I mean? So it's not just about entertaining people. What would you do as an entertainer that would make you happy is what I'm trying to say. So get back at me on that. Oz says, not as a YouTuber, but discussing game systems, discussing hardware, and also chatting about old, obscure games. That is part of the reason why Kaz and I are such good friends, because I like a lot of that too. Noxious Karn says, what I'm good at? The voice man, the commentary. When I had my game up, I found live streams were insane over my normal numbers. Yeah, you actually do. I did watch the video you sent me, by the way, Nox. You and your lady there do have a very commanding voice. I did. Uh-oh. It's like the stream may have bought it on us. Nope, we're still live. It started loading. I get scared when I see that now. Kaz says, I'm not sure if I'm good enough at it, though. The thing that I'm good enough at that people pay me for is programming and software development. I would need to practice at YouTube stuff to get to that level. Sure. Let's see. Bearded Puma Gaming says, I love RPGs. I like researching enemies and want to do short and to the point bestiaries. Just know if that's wanted. Think autocorrect might have got your last sentence there, Bearded Puma. Can you reword that one? Because I was with you all the way through it, where you said, I love RPGs. I like researching enemies and want to do short and to the point. That's actually a really cool niche, where I guess you'd make videos giving kind of like a dossier on all of the enemies. Like, this is what you're going to expect. That could actually be really useful. I could see that being tied into a lot of the wiki stuff too. It's a pretty slick niche you got there, sir. I like what I'm hearing. See, the more you guys think about this and you start thinking about how to focus, you're going to come up. The first chapter of my ebook makes you do what we're doing tonight. All right, so you will have gone through part of the first chapter of my ebook if you go through this process tonight. I mean, you're not going to get it necessarily in 5 minutes. There's some other nuanced things that I talk about in the book that we're not talking about here. But you're going through it. Well, I'd say you're going through the practical exercise that's in the book by helping you understand what you love. And it doesn't even have to be just something you love. Because, I love my kids. Do I love video games? Not to the same degree, ever. Do I love video games as much as I love doing outreach and, working with programs that help veterans not commit suicide? No, because the amount of joy that I get from helping other people in those regards, it's not comparable. You know, do I love video games more than when I take my son downtown to feed the homeless? Because, you know, I've worked in very well-to-do places that have homeless problems and had some of those homeless people be a part of the community that I was managing. You know, no, I don't love video games as much as so I'm saying all that to say is it doesn't have to be something you love that you do, but it has to be something you're curious about and at least something that you enjoy. You know, that's why I said, what makes you happy? You know, I mean, it's got to make you happy. There's things that I love that don't always make me happy. All right, so let's keep moving. Knox says, oh yeah, should have elaborated, entertaining in a horror fashion. So slightly creepy. You heard my creepypasta stuff. Yes, I did. I want to bring that back into the gaming, and I have ideas. Okay, cool. Ranger J says, community interaction makes me really happy, but I don't have a clue as to what I'm good at. So you need to figure that out. You need, and dag nabbit, I don't think I have it down here in my office. So I'm going to put some books in the description here. I can't do it from my tablet because tablets are whack. Because I won't be able to get the links and do that. But I'm going to put some books in the description. So when we kind of adjourn here, don't leave just yet. Let me get the links in the description for the books that I want you guys to read. So when you're talking about I don't know what I'm good at, you need to figure that out quickly. Especially if you're going to start making content on YouTube. Jay, I know you're coming into the academy. You're going to have to figure out what you're actually good at. I don't know. Like, I am not directly equipped to help you figure that out. I'm going to point you to some things in the academy, but I'll point you to one tonight. You need to read the book Managing Oneself by Peter Drucker. It's $5. You order it on Amazon tomorrow. You'll probably have it by Monday. The book will literally take you 20 minutes to read, and it will change your life. I mean, I hate to promise that because I'm sure there's one guy that'll be like, I read it and it didn't change anything. And I'm like, that's also why you sound like a buffoon when you respond to people. But anyway, read the book Managing Oneself. I wish somebody had made me read that book when I was 12 years old. I really, really do. Like, I'm having my kids read books, adult level books, because these are things that if I had known at 12, I'd be so much farther along than I am in my life right now. But that'll help you understand. At least it won't tell you what you're good at, but it will tell you how to discover it. Okay? Also, take and you're going to be in the academy, so you're going to go through the personality testing. Read the personality testing book. And take a lot of different personality tests, but personality tests, a lot of them have a lot of background information that tell you kind of like what jobs you're predisposed to being good at and stuff like that. Okay, Kaz says it's stuttering a bit on the stream, but it seems to be recovering. Yeah, it did stutter there for a second. Sugarfoot says, I'm a massive fan of RPG character build tutorial videos, as well as Let's Roleplay videos. Also a fan of obscure, small-time games. Not a creator, though. Okay, so if you were a creator, just to kind of give somebody an example, I would focus on, if I were you, talking about what should I make, one of the things you can consider targeting in terms of an audience is doing Let's Roleplay videos for obscure small-time RPGs. That's something I actually do on my channel. But I do reviews. I prefer reviews over Let's Plays. Or I'll do a live stream review, so to speak, and stuff like that. Bearded Puma says, awesome, B, thank you. Yes, you're most welcome. King of Blaze says, the gaming and anime community are the things I love about YouTube. Talking about gaming news and anime-related topics is something that I am good at. But are you good enough at it? Do you have the ability to present in a way that's compelling to people? And by compelling, I don't mean they necessarily have to like you. Like there are commentators who do what they do specifically because it makes people angry. And they're good at it. Not saying that that's necessarily what you want to do. Excuse me. Protein shake got thick there. Good Lord. Let it sit for an hour while you're talking. Are you good enough at the discussing anime and video games to get people to want to listen to you? And so in good enough in your particular case will come down to, are you knowledgeable enough for people who are into watching that type of commentary to want to tune into you because you have a lot of insight? And are you, I won't say entertaining enough, but are you engaging enough? You know, because a lot of things I do, when I do commentary videos, it's about things that are, you know, so our channel basically, because we're a conglomerate of people that make content, it's not just me. So we do make different products, but it's all focused on the same theme, which starts with have a positive impact on every soul, every person we find, right? That's where it starts. But then we branch out into sharing good ideas. So, you know, we share good ideas with the intent to have a positive impact on the lives of the people that we reach, with the intent that we will, in a sense, build a stronger gaming community. And part of the reason why I focus on gaming creators is because we will be the influencers of the gaming community. And we already are. I mean, there's YouTubers making $20,000 just to play a game because they've become so prolific and big that big companies now want to pay them to share their work with people. And I think if we can get into the minds of people before they get to the point, because, you know, part of the problem with getting famous before, you know, especially if you're really young, which is why I also tell people don't try to get too big too fast, not just with subscribers, but just in general, because you're still, if you're really young, you're still building character. So you don't want to outrun your character. You know what I mean? It'd be like I hand you the most powerful sword in the game and the most powerful set of armor, but you're not trained to carry it. It's too heavy for you. And I just throw you out there because you're hyper talented to go fight this big behemoth that decimates you in a couple hits because you don't have the character development in order to sustain your success. Right? So where was I going with that? There was a point that I was coming to. So, you know, with like when I do commentary videos, which is what I'm coming back to, our focus again is on building. So a lot of the commentary videos I do are specifically about counterculture community things. So when I see something that happens that's extremely negative, just kind of give you some insight into how I approach it. I see something that either one, I'm really, really interested in because it's a part of the niche that watches my channel and they'll watch it and I'll be able to impart something to them. Or it's a very opinionated piece where if you've seen my Final Fantasy VII Remake episodic content video, which made a lot of people angry, because I basically told them to grow up. It's like, games cost more money than you think they do. Like, I wish everybody that makes the comment about these games shouldn't cost so much had to take a legit computer science programming course. And then you tell me how much you think video games cost to make. Once you know how to do computer programming, you tell me how easy you think it is for somebody to sit down, take an entire game that takes up 3 discs full of content, and turn that into an HD remaster version where everything is remade, and, oh, by the way, sell that for $39. It's insane to think that, and then, to have the audacity to be like, Square Enix is trying to rip us off. No, they're not. They would be idiotic if they were trying to rip you off. They're trying to bring you something that you've been begging for 50 years, and in order to do it, they can't break the company to do it. With the amount of millions of dollars it's going to take to build that project, they can't just build it, do all the research and development, do all of the development, and then pay half of that development cost. Not half of it, all that development cost, that exact same cost is probably what they're going to have to spend in promoting the game. And I'm going to get on my soapbox here a little bit, but the company has got to recoup that expense. And in order to do that, if they sell a game that is guaranteed, hear me on this, it is guaranteed to not sell as well as the original. Why am I saying that? Because I look at the analytics of all the RPGs that have been sold since. I have not been able to find one since Final Fantasy VII that has sold, and there may be one out there that I missed, but there ain't a lot of them, that sold better than Final Fantasy VII. It has been a straight decline since 1996. It's not going to sell as well. It's not. The world has changed. That's no longer the genre that everybody's looking for, that Final Fantasy VII was this big prolific thing. It's no longer there. So it's guaranteed to sell less. So we have to sell it in a way. The whole point is I'll do that type of commentary because I'm knowledgeable, obviously, about the economics behind a lot of what's going on in the gaming community. Just economics in general. Like I haven't read Square Enix's, financial report. Like I have Google's financial report here, or one of the pages from it, which was something I wanted to go over tonight, because I read that stuff, right? Like I've read Google tells you where they're struggling. And they give you some insight into why we have issues with Content ID stuff, because they're trying to protect their brand. They're getting hammered by these other companies, and we're over here as creators complaining about they're not making my experience so wonderful and beautiful as a creator, and they're making money off me. How much money are they making off you? $13 a year, maybe? And you want them to just bend over backwards to make your experience? Like, that's the thing I cannot get over as your coach, is I'm not going to let you live so in this warped bubble where the whole world revolves around you, because it does not. All right. So anyway, are you knowledgeable enough to do commentary where people are going to want to watch it? I know I got on my soapbox there, but that's what you sign up for when you deal with yours truly. Let's see here. The Bearded Puma, those would be some awesome videos. Awesome B, thank you. Yes, sir. So gaming is the thing I love about YouTube, and talking about gaming news is something I'm good at. My friends in real life come to me about everything. Okay, good. That's a good one. So in that particular case, the other thing I tell you to do is focus on one or the other in the beginning. Like if you want to do anime and gaming, pick one for now, master that, and then slowly bring the other one in after you've hit the threshold for growth for whatever it is that you're doing. Then think about bringing in something else. All right, and you're gonna have to have an angle. There's a lot of people that do gaming commentary, and if you're a newer channel, getting away from trends is probably a bad idea, because you don't have that rabid fan base that just hangs on every word that you're saying, to where I can make a video about whatever I want. So it's no mistake that I picked Final Fantasy VII in the example that I just gave, because the whole world, RPG world, which is where I focus in terms of gaming, was up in arms about it. All right, so think about those things. Let's see. All right, Sugar says, which combat system do you prefer? Okay, that's you guys talking. Good. All right, Noxious Karn says, one of these days I'd love to see this as a Google Hangout on air. Yes, that is something that I'm brainstorming. The problem with Google Hangouts is that you can only have so many people on them. So I don't want to alienate folks doing what I'm doing here. But yeah, a Google Hangout is something that I am considering. So we got Blue E, or is that Blue 3? Okay, here's a curveball for you. Daily Dick Punches, a series where people get punched in a plethora of games, such as fighting games. When do I start cashing in my YouTube money? Okay. All right. Well, that's one way to try to draw an audience. I'm sure there's a couple 16-year-olds out there who would really be into that. And I'm not trying to be sarcastic with you. I think there's probably a lot of people who would be into that. But, I kind of focus on people creating something of value that's going to have longevity. I don't think that would last forever. Something I'm good at is gaming. I know I have much more to learn when it comes to editing, so you need to be more specific. Evan says, happy. Well, it's weird to say. I like to dream. I like a good story. Good at. I like to take something from those stories and make something of my own. Okay, cool. Aridin, you mean you have an engaging live personality? Okay. Tex Stomper says, yeah, such as C. Nanners with that Marvel High School. He got sponsored. Okay, sweet. Yeah, Jolly, I'm not even done with the board, so don't worry about that. I'm gonna get back into what's going on up here. And let me back up too. I see some people commenting on my Final Fantasy VII stuff. I'm not saying I'm right, by the way. I got on my soapbox there for a second to illustrate the point that I'm able to stir up people willingness to debate, and I'm not doing it specifically to debate with them. Like, I shared what I truly believed was my honest truth, but I'm not saying that I'm right. Okay, so if